We now arrive at liquid or fluid layouts. These are layouts that expand and contract to fill the browser window, and they're based on percentages of the current browser's window size. Liquid layouts flex with the size of the window, even if the current viewer changes their browser size as they're viewing the site. I have an example of a liquid layout here, and you'll notice that I'm adjusting the entire width of the website based on the width of my browser window. In this case, interestingly enough, the middle column is the only one that's really flexing to accommodate the size of the browser window. These liquid width layouts allow a very efficient use of the space provided by any given web browser window or screen resolution. These are often preferred by designers who have a lot of information to get across in a limited amount of space, as they remain consistent in size and relative page weights regardless of who is viewing the page. Here the width of the content area isn't specified at all, so notice that the text flows to fit the width of the screen here in the middle column. Notice that right now the text is getting a little bit hard to read because this column is so wide. That's one disadvantage of these liquid layouts. Ideally, you want to keep your text columns around 60 characters in width to make them as easy as possible to read. And here you lose that control if the user is looking at your site with a very high resolution or with a very large, wide browser window. So many web designers argue that these fluid layouts renders the content less readable on large displays, but is more beneficial for small displays such as those on mobile devices. Here we have a well-documented liquid layout by Matthew James Taylor on his website right here. MatthewJamesTaylor.com, blog ultimate. This is a 3-column Holy Grail pixel widths layout here. You can read all about it on his website. Pretty good documentation of how this is set up, but a good example of a liquid type of layout. What you can also do is view the page source to see how this has been laid out in CSS. You'll notice that here the div tags, the IDs here, have clears and floats. So he's setting this up with floating technologies or floating techniques that I've covered previously. Here's the header display, float left. Here's a call mask class, position relative, so you can review many of the techniques and concepts that I've covered so far in reviewing these very professional and quite complex pages and how they're laid out. Matthew's Holy Grail 3-column layout example here uses child or nested divs as well as floats. The side column widths are in pixels, and the center page adjusts in size to fill the rest of the screen. The vertical dimensions here are left unset, so they automatically stretch to the height of the content. Notice that if you scroll down, the content fills all the way down to the footer. So the more content you have, the longer this page will be. What's kind of nice about Matthew's example is he has included each div here and how they're nested. Notice that the header and the footer divs are set to 100%. That is 100% width, and they're stacked vertically one on top of the other. Call mid right here is in the center, this blue one. It's inside of the div tag labeled call mask, and call left is inside call mid right here, call left. See how they're all nested inside of each other. The center column needs to be inside the call one wrap div right here. That's the purple div tag. This is so it can be positioned correctly. This extra div is not required if you use percentage widths. There's a percentage width version of this page that Matthew has provided. Notice that the main content column, column 1, comes before the other columns, and this is necessary for search engine optimization. So the lesson to learn here is that notice that this call 1 comes first, but because it's not floated, notice that this div tag is floated left. This one is floated right, so this middle section, although it's listed first in the code, is actually going to be positioned in the middle of the page. Here's another liquid layout that James Matthew Taylor has provided on his website URL up here in my browser. In this layout, the left side column width is in pixels, and the main right half of the page adjusts to fill the size of the browser. So notice that as I move this, the right column is adjusting and the left column stays at a consistent thickness. The vertical dimensions here are left unset, so they automatically stretch to the height of the content. The header, call mask, and footer divs are 100% wide and stacked vertically one after the other. Again, what's nice about James's work here is he's really clearly documented how these pages are set up. Here you have the header, the call mask, which is the green, and the footer set to 100%. Inside of call mask you have call left, another child div. Call left is inside this call mask, and the left content column is inside call left right here, this purple one, call one wrap. The main right page needs to be inside the call one wrap div so it can be positioned correctly. Notice that you're setting the right float here to call one, and then the left float over here to call two. Matthew explains that he does this for search engine optimization purposes so that the call one right here is first in the code even though it gets floated over to the right. Now James has given permission on his website for anyone to use this HTML code free. Again, you can see the code by viewing the page source here. Be sure to put the CSS into a separate file, and also James requests that you link back to his pages here so that other people can find and use these very well documented page layouts and learn from them.